So this would be one particular topic that goes for almost every kind of printer today, and this is the use of CISS system or CISS system, however you wanna call it. Some printers of which were manufactured lately have this system installed already, and some could be upgraded to have this system on. But what I wanted to show you is here's an example of when you buy a new CISS and you don't really know how to properly fill the CISS and put stuff on, because this is from one printer that we've been repairing recently. So this is the CISS system that has been brought to us with the printer. So the first mistake you've noticed instantly when you take this CISS system out, it's a new CISS system, because you see some of the pipes don't even have ink inside. It didn't pass through the pipes. But how properly is CISS filled? You see you have two chambers over here, and there's one chamber only with the ink, and the other one, the chamber that actually goes to the torn of the head, is completely empty. Not only that, but the first chamber, which is chamber with filter, where the ink first enters, then goes to the main chamber, is not even half full. So proper way, and the only way that is good for the printer or for the printer head, is to have everything filled at least 70 or 80%. Why is that? If you, I don't know if it could be seen on the camera, but you see there's one spot that has a bit of a different color. It's because there's in each of these cartridges there's a small filter. So when the ink enters the cartridge, it goes through the small filter, it fills this entrance chamber, then goes from this chamber to the main chamber. So we got this cartridge over here where it could be presented more understandable. This is one of the cartridges that's been removed from one CISS system because the filter is clogged. So why do you have to fill it basically 70 or 80%? Is because you need the ink level to be more than the level of the filter, because if it's below or at half of the level of the filter is also standing on air, and it's also clogging like the head. And this cartridge is a bit better solution because it has only one chamber, so everything here is one chamber, and whatever ink you fill inside the cartridge, it will still cover the torn of the head. So this is the head. Cartridge sits on the torn of the head. And why is this important? Because why is it important to have ink inside the cartridge? Because when the first time the ink goes through the head and goes through the torn, manifold, and nozzle, it has to be constantly covered with some ink on top. And in this case, where you have a cartridge with two chambers, if you don't move this plug over here, then the ink from the first chamber won't be flowing to the main chamber. As you can see, the torn goes to the main chamber. That's the small one. So the owner of the printer didn't pull out the plug, but he just poured in the ink over to the outside tanks, and he expected to fill the cartridges just like that, just by pouring it from a glass. But this is not the principle how it's done. How it's done, and how the only way how it has be and must be done, and I can't emphasize that enough, is you have to remove the plug. So now when you pull the tanks up, you can see that the ink is slowly flowing to the cartridge. And why is that? Because it's filling this chamber, and the air, this is called the deaeration, or the aeration of the cartridges, or there's one more word. Let me just remember it. The deaeration, I think, or something like that, but let's just stick with deaeration. So when the ink enters through the pipe to the first chamber, it will slowly be pushing out the air, which will go to the next chamber, and the air will go outside. But in order to go outside, we have to make way for the air. So we have to remove the plug, and now you can see the first chamber is slowly filling until it fills up, and it has to be filled that much so the ink level would cover the previously mentioned filter, so he won't get clogged, and so the main chamber could get some ink, which is even more important, because the main chamber covers the torn of the head. So now you can see that already the ink has been flowing over to the next chamber, and it can do so because we've removed the plug. And also, if you can de-air the cartridge on the way, so you can get rid of the bubbles inside, so you can get pure ink without any bubbles, that would be even better. But absolute necessity is to get this chamber filled, because it covers the torn of the head. When you wanna stop the flow of the ink inside the cartridges, you just have to get the cartridge on the more upper level than the outside tanks. If you want to continue pouring the ink inside, you just pull up the outside tanks. All right, so let me just see, maybe a bit more. We got a bit more space in the main chamber, but we're basically there. So this is how the cartridge should look like. The filter inside the first chamber is covered with the ink, so it won't get clogged, and we could push this inside a bit, right, like that. and the first chamber should be at least half full because we need to cover the torn of the head over here, and so we will be good. So there won't be any head drying or filter drying or pipes drying or anything else. So this is how it should be, and what we should do to all other cartridges. And still, I can't stress this enough, you have to you have to check the state of the cartridges from time to time. Let's say I don't know, monthly, maybe once, at least once a month, or if you don't have any time or you forget about it, at least once in 2-month period. So as soon as I've released the plug it out, the ink started flowing to the cartridge, and that's what the owner didn't do. He tried to go shorter way, but it's just not gonna do it. You have to be, should I say, committed to when you're doing something like this, and this is very important stuff if you wanna have your printer still making money and remaining in working order. So the outside tanks are now lifted up, and I can see here that through the hole that the main chamber is also filling up, and we are close to filling it to the top. So that's what we're gonna do with this one and also with others. It's good to have a piece of paper prepared when the ink reaches the top, and also there'll be some bubbles going out, not really the ink. So until you reach the pure ink, you should be cleaning it a couple of times before you can see that the really tangible ink is going outside. All right, one more time. So we are close here. A bit more of a bubbly stuff going outside, but basically we are there. All right, I think we're good there. Let's see what's the situation over here to these two, and I'm thinking probably the same because the plugs haven't been moved before, so it seems. Let's push this inside. So you can, if you are more skillful and stuff like that, you can fill 2 at a time, but it's suggestible that you do 1 at a time because you might be having some overflows until you get the hang of it. And when you get more experience with it, you could feel each 4 or 6 at a time. But first you have to know what to expect. So now I can tell that probably the cyan would be filled before the magenta, or could be that there's just more bubbles inside than magenta. Magenta seem to be more with the pure ink inside, and cyan seems to be bubbly. But anytime you wanna stop the ink flow to the cartridges, just put down the outside tanks, and if you wanna fill a bit more, you just lift them up. Simple as that. Bubbles flowing from both sides. I have to get rid of that and try not to mess everything up. If you don't fill it up properly the first time you're doing the filling, you will be having more bubbles and more stuff to get rid of. So they're probably somewhere at the same level now, so I'm just gonna plug one of it so I don't have to take both of them at once. I'll try to solve this one first. So if it was properly filled the first time the owner filled it, it won't be so bubbly now. But what can you do? That's our job, nevertheless, to make printers work again or at their best performance possible. A lot of bubbles over here. All right, I think we got that ink now. Okay. All right. We got that one, so now we won't be filling the white ink at the moment because the printer is not used with the white ink for the time being. So we will just fill up these 4. All right, so there's a bit less bubbles over here. Okay, let me just check once more that first one is okay. Maybe clean it up a bit more, but it's there, it's okay. So that's for this part, and the pipes go inside this holder in order to fold a bit more precise when the head goes left and right inside the printer. And what we have here are the plugs on the outside tanks. You can to equalize the level from these chambers, you can pull each open each plug over here on the outside. Let me just see if this is gonna equalize. All right, you can do that also. And how do you place the plugs? These plugs are placed here and there. You place it so you can, if you need to transport the outside the printer or the CISS itself, this small plug has to be over here. So if you want to transport it, you just plug that inside, so you can now move the outside tank, move the printer, everything you want to do without spilling the ink from this rear chamber here. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna equalize every tank. Okay, we've done that right. We're gonna place the plugs properly as they should be. And what else we have here? We have the filters. The filters should be placed when you're not transporting the printer and you're not having these plugs inside. You should be having these filters. They're here because they prevent since it's a water-based thing, they prevent water from evaporating partially from the ink, and thus making the ink more how should I put it, more liquid. And they should be on every time you are the printer is in use and it's not in transporting state or something like that. So you be sure to put them on, because at most times these filters get dirty, and just standing dirty on the CISS, and if that happens, it's the same thing as with this clog filter over there on the cartridge. If you get some ink inside the filter, then the filter gets clogged, and when you try to when you turn on the head clean on the printer, you don't have access to air from this side, and you're making vacuum inside the tank. So that will manifest like the ink won't be flowing through the outside from the outside tank to the cartridge. So there has to be access for air on this tank, and it's either you keep these filters clean, or if you get them dirty, you should clean them, wash them, or if they cannot be washed, because sometimes you reach the position where you cannot clean them no more, they still remain clogged, because as you've seen before in previous videos, the ink does get pretty hard. Then you should remove them. But this is the best way. These outside cartridges are supposed to be looking, and that would give you the best performance and the less problems you would be having. So as you can see, there's quite a few things or details you might wanna pay attention to, so I'll just mention most of them now. So this is how you should be treating your CISS system.